You know, I've been a fisherman all my life, and I've been a yachtsman, and in my yachting life I have been caught in some really massive storms, absolutely massive, and that's mostly on the Indian Ocean, where you've got two counter currents and the waves stand up high when the wind is blowing in the opposite direction, and they've lost ships, many ships. It's the area off Durban on the east coast there where many ships have been lost, and they found that I've got these massive waves which stack on top of each other and get up to 60 meters, 70 meters high, and the ship then falls into the hole, and the wave comes on the top of it, and a whole ocean liner was lost. It just went sailing to the bottom, and nobody got off it. A ship called the Waratah. But anyway, that's another issue. So I really do admire what these men do. I think that they are very brave to go out there in these terrible seas. And when you've been out on those decks and you see those huge waves coming at you, they really do look like mountains, like blocks of flats that are just heading towards you, fast with a comber on the top. It just is absolutely amazing. So when you've been in that, you can only begin to understand it. Now I see some comments which are slagging the situation off. Those are from men who are absolutely ignorant of what these men are facing. These big boats don't roll over because they're on a pond. They roll over because they're being caught by some massive wave and rolled over, and people lose their lives. People get washed off those decks. It's really, I have to admire them. Only when you go out there do you find that. What I'm driving at is when those people switch those engines on to go out there. Those engines run and run and run from the time they leave till the time they come back again, and they use a lot of diesel, and that of course is quite expensive. And whether you've got boats, trucks, cars, anything, using diesel or any fuel, there is a way of actually saving fuel by using a fuel cell. This is a picture of one of the fuel. This is a single fuel cell here, and that in actual fact can save you a lot of money. It can save you on diesel up to 40% and more on petrol. There are a few other things you've got to do on petrol because the engine's got to be retuned. But on diesel, not quite so complicated, and very simple to run and put in. And it doesn't affect the injectors because it doesn't come through the injectors. It comes in through the air system into the systems. So that's exceptional. This is for the bigger trucks, etc., and we can put in as many of these single cells in as are required. This here is what we call a header tank, where you put in the electrolyte, and then that feeds these lower fuel cells down here. And they will run for for a long time. There is an element inside which, unfortunately, because of the nature of oxygen, it burns away. So they'll just got to be replaced. But it's very cheap to do that. It's just part of your fuel cost. But if you've saved yourself a couple of £1,000 worth of fuel, it doesn't cost you very much. It's not a real problem to put something worth £20 or £30. It's not a problem. So there we are. That's the fuel cells. That's what we recommend that are put onto cars, trucks, etc. And that way you can save a lot of money. And the emissions are absolutely amazing. We put one of these things recently on a E-Class Mercedes, and the emissions out the back, when it was tested with the infrared or the laser light, the emissions and the particulates 1.85. That means that stuff that is not burnt going out the back. That's a lot of fuel just being blown out the back. Once you put the fuel cell on, the improvement in burning, that meant you're using less fuel because you've got now more power out of the less fuel, and you take your foot off the accelerator rather than have it down 2 inches. When you got it up down an inch, you're in actual fact saving a lot of fuel. And the net result, the emissions indicate went from 1.85 reading down to 0.85 and then down to 0.8. That was an amazing result. Everybody was absolutely staggered by it. But that was because using less fuel, etc. And the other thing is, because you're doing that, you in actual fact are running the engine cooler, because the H2O reverts to water vapor. It takes the heat out the engine, so it's cooling. And also, because you're burning less and throwing less particulates out through the valves, etc., the valves are cleaner, and the engine runs cleaner. Thank you very much for listening, and I'd like to suggest that you just sort of have a look at that there, because those are our telephone numbers and address. It looks a bit primitive, but I just thought I'd put this up here because so few people know the benefits of fuel cells. This is called Fuel Saver. Thank you very much for your time.
Set a second